Speaker.
I call the Honourable Member Lole-Taylor Asanati Lole-Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just before I start my speech here today, I just want to perhaps respond to the comments by the member that's just taken her seat, Melissa Lee. The question she made was that, why are we still paying benefits, welfare? Why are we still paying welfare? Well, the answer is that there are no jobs. There are no, there's quite a number of low wages, and we also have broken promises, and of course, poor legislations and incompetent government. I mean, is that enough to answer your question, Melissa Lee? So let me now come back to the bill. The bill is seeking to amend the Social Security Act 1964 to make spouses and partners, including beneficiaries, accountable for any fraudulent behaviour. That's all that member can do, is chatting away in the corner. He hasn't got anything better to say. That's all he's good at. At the same time, it will allow the Ministry of Social Development to recover debt. There is no doubt that welfare fraud is a serious matter. Something definitely needs to be done. Something needs to be done to combat fraudulent behaviour and tighten measures relating to debt recovery. Over $20 million was taken in the past. In fact, to be exact, it was $23.4 million in the past year as a direct result of relationship fraud. Over $20 million is a lot of money. It is over $20 million of taxpayers' hard-earned money. Okay, it's not as much as the $176 million that were taken by some directors of some company, finance or finance company, that they took from their stakeholders, but $20 million is still a large amount of public money that could have been made available for job creation. Over $20 million will certainly buy a lot of condoms for prostitutes or recreational items like tampons or sanitary pads that the Social Development Minister has just been trying to defend lately. It would also be fair to say that only half of the $20 million will certainly help those homeowners in Christchurch who have been badly affected by the earthquake and are given the runaround by the government and insurance companies. However, New Zealand First is pleased to see that the national government is perhaps trying to listen to the strong call from ordinary New Zealanders whom they have ignored for the past many years, although it seems they are far too slow in addressing the issues amicably. Was it Thomas Jefferson, I believe, who said, "Experience have shown that even under the best forms of government, those entrusted with power have, in time and by slow operation, perverted it into tyranny." So given recent mishaps and broken promises by the national government, I think we could afford to say to Honourable Chester Burrows that he is heading in the right direction. Our current legislation puts the person receiving assistance liable for prosecution. It ignores his or her partner or spouse, which means he or she would be cleared of any wrongdoing despite potentially having knowledge relating to fraudulent behaviour. This bill will ensure that the persons receiving assistance and their partners or spouses are liable. In other words, they will all be liable to be prosecuted for intentionally misleading our social development, or shall we say the welfare system, in order to benefit from inheriting what they are certainly not entitled to. Given these reasons, Mr. Speaker, there are questions that need to be asked. How will the debt be recovered? Is Chester Burrows' staff now going to force them to hand over funds in order to pay for it and subject their children or tamaiti, if any, to poverty? How is the government going to ensure that money being lost through benefit fraud will be returned in a reasonable time frame or reasonable manner. If this bill is to pass, the member in charge of this bill needs to be more transparent as to how it will be implemented and what the appropriate steps will be. Just like the Labour MP Jacinda Ardern was referring to earlier on about different earnings, different times, part-time work and so on. Just last week, a caregiver pleaded guilty to defrauding the benefit system by almost $274,000. 54-year-old Beverly Melsart evaded disclosing information relating to her employment and was able to obtain a benefit in the process. Cases like this paint a very bad picture. That picture unfairly reflects on honest Kiwis out there who have genuine reasons to receiving benefit and who have taken reasonable steps towards employment. Benefit fraud is something New Zealand First does not take lightly. Benefit fraud is completely unacceptable. We want to ensure that the intentions of this bill will be implemented appropriately and with suitable mechanisms in place to ensure that it is carried out properly. This bill aims to make it a criminal offence on spouses or partners of benefit fraud. Yeah, we accept that that is fair. It will lead to a fine not exceeding $5,000 or imprisonment not exceeding 12 months. Ordinary Kiwis out there would like to see the penalties contained in this bill sufficient to deter potential fraudsters from committing benefit fraud. The concerns that we do have over this bill include, first of all, how will it be rolled out? 2, and whether the proposed measures will be enough to deter fraudulent behaviour. 3, could it potentially conflict with privacy laws? And 4, could it foster a discriminatory environment on certain groups of people? Attempts definitely need to be taken so that public faith can be restored into the welfare system. There is also a need to acknowledge that there are countless reasons behind benefit fraud. We need to ensure that we understand the possible circumstances that people are in when they contemplate fraudulent behaviour. Some of the reasons may include sudden redundancy or the inability to secure employment, changes to family circumstances, for example, death or relationships breakdown, unstable relationships, and perhaps huge debts, poor financial literacy, and lack of management experience in looking after their budgets. Let's face it, there's a few out there like that, Mr. Speaker. And I do wonder if Winston Churchill should be blamed for saying that perhaps it is better to be irresponsible and right than to be responsible and wrong. In some cases, serious alcohol and drug abuse, or shall we say addiction, could also be contributing factors, while on the other hand, there may be mental illnesses to be considered. I was discussing this bill with some of our community leaders, and Mike Sapin will actually learn something if he listens. They believe it is timely that the law was reviewed to address benefit fraud. And it is also fair to say that not everyone who are committing this kind of crime come from those on low income as well. So for these possible scenarios, I believe it is important that the Select Committee should be given the opportunity to examine the bill carefully. New Zealand First will support this bill to Select Committee so that the public of New Zealand can be given the opportunity to submit on it, because they deserve the opportunity to be heard and they deserve to see democracy being given a fair go in this House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the
That's right.
Honourable
That's right.
Philip Heatley.
That's right.